All right, we'll start the work session this evening. And first up is Mr. David Coombs.
Good afternoon. Three things on the agenda this afternoon. The first one is an invoice from Barnett Plumbing. This is where contractor for AT&T drilled through the sewer line from the street department into Railroad Avenue. And so we had to get Barnett Plumbing to come out and fix a clay pipe. And so they had to replace a large section of it to make that work. Any questions on that one? $9,375.
I do want to say that there's some more detail that will come out of the Public Works Committee meeting today, because that price was a little much.
Yeah, it's, yeah, we will file a claim on that for sure and then try to get reimbursement for that, so. Second item is a contract with J. Keelan Valuation. This is a Huntsville company to do an appraisal on the property we're looking at on Starkey Drive in Industrial Park. He's a commercial appraiser, and this contract is for $7,995 to appraise the building and land and then the adjoining land as one unit. Any questions on that one? The final thing on here is contract with LaBelle and Associates for our an update to our solid waste management plan. Our plan is expiring. It has a 10-year lifespan. It does expire in January, so we're contracting with LaBelle to redo this plan. And the way this is going to work is they will draft a plan. We'll review it here. If we have changes, they'll make the changes. We will send it to ADM for review. This is a state requirement. Once ADM has reviewed it, there will be a 30-day public notice period, and then there will be a hearing in this auditorium, guessing that to be in maybe December, where the public will have a chance to comment on this. Once all the comments are addressed, then this plan will go back for your approval. Once you've approved it, then it will go back to ADM to be issued. It'll be good for 10 years. This is a requirement of ADM for all counties in the state. And a lot of the cities that are in the county that manage their own solid waste programs do their own plan. So we, among many other cities, have our own plan. That's what this is, and this is just a normal expiration of it, and it should be good for another 10 years. Any questions about that?
Again, this was addressed today, and there'll be a little bit more detail added, but I do think it's important that we be participants in this process with you and understand how this will affect not only you, but also our residents, and how this is an important step for our autonomy as a city outside of the county. So thank you for all of the detail you provided us today.
You're welcome.
And this 26.5, is that the one-time thing? Is it
It's a one-time fee for them to do all the legwork. They will, of course, we'll host the hearing, but they'll actually conduct the hearing. They'll do the submittals to ADM, they'll do the review, and once it's approved by you guys, it requires local approval, which is you guys, and then they'll take that back to ADM for approval from their engineering department. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bill Jordan.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have several items. The first item is item F, and that is an item that we would like to apply for an Alabama State Council on the Arts grant. And this will be for Music in the Park and our Stars and Guitars program that we have in the summer. And this is a matching grant with some monies that we sought out 6181 for having the programs this summer. And this is the money left over, and we want to try to match that with some other money. So that's why it's matching.
So this is the money, Gil, that we're putting in?
That's correct.
And is that a maximum amount match, do you know?
No, it's not. I got Amy back there. I'm looking at Amy, so.
You could go up to 10,000.
Okay. So we were just trying to make sure that we didn't overdo that. Okay, thank you, Amy, that's helpful with the grant. And you said it was for Music in the Park, and what was the other thing?
Stars and Guitars, that's what we have every Saturday in June, correct? Friday, every Friday.
Thank you.
Wonderful event.
That was highly thought of throughout the city. Heard people talking about it and asking people to call their friends to meet them down there. That was a great month of music.
I worked with some wonderful people that had great ideas, and Amy being one of them. So I think it's turned out to be a great community event. All kind of people, thank you for saying that. The next item, really the next three items are MOUs between the Florence Park and Recreation Department, Lauderdale County Schools, Schultz Christian School, and Marshall Bible School. And these are for tennis agreements for utilization of Royal and Cox Creek Parkway. So any questions on those MOUs from when I sent them out? Shared with you the expenses, and that's really probably about $16,000. We had to replace water fountains twice, so that's just to help with some of the offset, some of the maintenance costs associated with maintaining those.
And I think it's a great opportunity for you to work with our schools. It's really good town and city relations with our K-12 systems.
Yes. Well, Randy already has, and Courtney do a good job of scheduling those, so this kind of ties everything together and gives us something to work with. So thank Randy for what he does.
Thanks, Randy.
Questions?
And also, I might add, that was taken to the Park and Rec Committee as well as the Finance Committee, so both of those heard that. The next item is a item to submit an invoice for payment to Thompson Tractor, and this was done because the mulch at Veterans Park was not running, so they had to call in somebody to repair it, and to repair it was $695.50.
Questions?
Appreciate the explanation of what a mulcher is.
Absolutely, I had to look it up myself. I want to make sure y'all had the information. It's a very handy piece of equipment though. The next item is, we would like to submit for council approval the bid by Butler Construction for the renovations to the existing locker rooms at Handy Recreation Center. And the accepted bid price, which includes labor, equipment, materials, is $1,171,000. And I have my good friends from Lambert or LED here to answer any questions y'all may have. Jonathan and
I do want to know what that brings the total cost of this project to and what the timeline is. I know this was an addition. We discussed it at a council meeting and you took those comments very seriously from the community. So I do need answers to those two, please, sir.
okay, I'll let, if you got any particulars about the scope of the work, what's going to be done. I think, do I have the 180 days, so that will, you know, maybe explain that contract.
In
So-
addition to the 360,
So I'll let Jonathan explain that. So when I sent the information breaking down the total cost, so back the estimated cost back from LED back in March was between 1.2 million, 1.3 million. The contract now is 1.171. Their fee is $76,818, which brings this contract total to $1,247,818. The current renovation Butler Construction contract was $1,100,785. Their fee was $90,264.37. So the total amount of that was $1.19 million, $49.37. So the total for both is $2,438,868.37. And I'll let Jonathan talk more about kind of the contract, the way it's operating as far as overlapping, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and if you have any specific questions. The scope of, and Jim Kennedy is our interior designer, and he's specific things about the function of the building. I'd be glad for her to answer that. But basically, the shower areas, which our understanding when we were brought in was they haven't been used in years. They wanted to use that space as more functional space. The new director, that was Jen and I, go over it. It's about 2,600 square feet. That area is going to be completely demoed. There's a ton of plumbing. If you've ever been in there, there's so many showers and restrooms. And to remove all that, it's quite labor intensive. There's no way to get any equipment in there other than basically a wheelbarrow to get it out. So labor cost is a little more per square footage.
Can you remind us what that was to remove it, what the cost was, just to remove it?
I don't have that broken down as far as just the cost. I could get that for you, but
No, I mean, I just remember it being pretty extensive. That's a big part of the price there, I believe.
It is, and the difference between this is called the first phase of it. You know, we were able to saw cut some plumbing lines. We didn't have to take the entire slab out. And we went back and forth with our mechanical engineer on what was the best thing to do, and we can't take it out in pieces. I mean, it's just going to be slivers left. So I don't know if that, I don't have a specific number for that. I do have a breakdown as far as, and the other thing that's kind of costly to this project is the first phase, we were able to just replace some duct work, to patch some duct work. This one, the whole heating cooling system needed to be replaced. You know, we felt like there was no sense in spending this kind of money on renovating new walls and ceiling and everything, because you would have had to replace it within probably a year or two. So we had this chance, since we have everything out. That was $305,000 for that HVAC, which was a chunk of that. Plumbing was $142,000, so that may be that's a lot of that demo work in there, and then electrical was $93,000. But the labor part, we talked to before we did this. We talked to Butler and Smith General about just a cost, and that's where we came up with that budget, which I think Bill said was like 1.3 million, and both of them said, you know, talked to them separately, and both of them said it's a small area, you know, there's no way to get any kind of equipment in there to do it hurriedly. So it's basically got to be just had to be saw cut out and hauled out. Taken out by hand, basically. So there's no way to do that. And so you know, per square footage, it was a little more than the first phase. But the first phase, we weren't tearing out a lot of walls. We were, you know, the HVAC we were able to keep it and just replace some ductwork and such. So I don't know if that answered your question.
And one other question, if you don't mind, being the architect here, will this increase the value of that building? I know that 2,600 square feet with showers and bathroom stalls. So now it's going to be something totally different.
Yes.
Will that add to the value of that building by doing that?
You know, again, that's an opinion, but I would, yes, sir, because what, you know, the function, I don't know, you know, the scope of, or the idea of the function of it when it was, you know, built in 54 or whatever. You know, there was a pool, there was, you know, like I said, there was a lot of showers, more showers in there than the Y has. So, you know, maybe at that time period, it was useful. From our feedback from Park and Regs was that no one uses those anymore. The kids come out there, they dry off. We are adding some large boys and girls bathrooms back there where they can change if they need to change. They can, you know, but they never use the shower area. So, long story short, I guess our long answer is Mr. Graham, Jim may speak toward this, but may want to speak toward this, but his vision is more of a you know, community involved in doing after school programs and such. And there is no space for, like, you know, a computer area, a teaching area, a conference room, and that kind of thing. There was no other space in the whole building, and so this was a great opportunity to use that. So that was his vision, and just, again, may just be my opinion, or hearing what his vision for it is just the fact that, things have changed, and he feels like this is the best way to reach kids in the community, and he needed the space more than he needs showers. So, I don't know, I hope that answered your
It
question.
did, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other?
Is the time frame in addition or is it included?
No, the time frame, I believe on the, let's see, I think I had that. The first, and anyway, we're not really necessarily calling phases, but just for clarity's sake, the first phase that's under construction now, it was, I think the middle of January is when it's supposed to be finished. In talking to Butler, if they get a notice to proceed, let's just say mid to late September, they feel like they can be finished with second phase by mid-March. So, and from what I understand from Parks and Rec, they want to open up the building, they don't want to just open up, they don't want to open up the first phase until because you don't want children in the middle of construction, and you will, there's almost no way to safeguard them if we don't do it that way. So to answer your question, the entire project would be finished hopefully by, and they felt pretty confident by mid-March.
Okay. They can host a spring break fair.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to say that, we've got these recreation buildings and all that they all got age on them. I guess Handy's, is it the oldest one, or they're all built?
Broadway was built the same year.
Royal and Broadway, they were 50s, 60s. So, and I'm a firm believer, if we've got something, we've got to take care of it. So I hope that in the future, we can take care of Broadway. And I mean, I know things have been done, but if there's anything major that needs to be done, I hope we can get to it in the future.
We were able to use, the Royal, we really spent a lot of money on the pool, but then on Broadway, we're able to do some things with the ARPA money that Shannon kind of put out there. So we're able to do, not as extensive as what we're doing at Handy, but I agree with you. I mean, as things, as old as they are and as great as our guys make them look, things just wear out. So, this will be a good, and it's a vision that Jason wants to do with the community, so it fits in with what he's really trying to do with programming and community engagement and those kind of things. So, you want to say something else?
Yes, if you allow me, going back to what Mr. Oliver said as far as the value of that building. One thing we did find, and you don't know this till you get into the construction of it, that building, built in the late 50s, it has great bones. I'm not sure we could build that building for the cost. Dated, absolutely, in the function, but as far as the exterior walls, the roof system, I mean, you walk in there and look at that floor, it doesn't have a crack in it. We can't hardly do that anymore. It's hard to do that. So it's got great bones. So I think it was worth it.
1955, 1962, and 1962, so it is as old as the rest of them were built in 62. Any other questions?
Bill, would you send a thank you back to your personnel that you have, create those updates for us when you send your reports? They're very informative. I'm not sure who it is that does all of that, but if you would just say thank you for me, I'd appreciate it.
I usually, after I send them to y'all, I'll send them to them just so I'll let them know that I'm not just asking for them and not using them. So 100% thank you for acknowledging you reading them. I greatly appreciate that. Work with some great folks, and I couldn't do it without them.
Well, not being on Parks and Rec committee and you see things in there that you really don't know it's going on.
Sure.
So that they are very informative.
Well, then that item did go before the Park and Rec Committee and the Finance Committee as well too. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Dressler.
Good afternoon. I have item letter K on the consent agenda. It's a request for entering into a contract with SWC of Decatur to provide building materials, equipment, and installation of the new parking deck cameras. Total's gonna be $87,122. I don't think it was included in the original bid, so we're kind of doing this a little bit after the fact, but they've got a scope of work to get it done, hopefully before we open. That's kind of where we're at. If you're gonna pay a premium for parking, I think that having security cameras is a nice addition, so.
Jack, is this coming out of your budget?
No, this is actually coming out of Fund 195, account number 1020-48149, which is the original fund that the parking deck was built out of. Since it will be considered part of the structure, we're gonna pull it out of that fund.
That'd be a change order.
That's exactly what I was about to say, is that?
No, it will not be.
No, it will not.
This is not being done by Roy Anderson. This is a contract with the city, with a vendor.
And Jack, who will be monitoring this footage?
The cameras, we can give it to whoever. The parking deck staff, IT can have it. If you want it on your phone, you can have it.
I do not.
Yeah.
However, I know that that could be a very active
Yes.
request opportunity. So managing that's why I wondered why we weren't going with somebody like ADT or somebody who does that for us.
Well, we already do it around the entire city with all the locations. We have the same exact system. We'll be adding 50 cameras to this with a recording time of about 30 days. A lot of the stuff is just really kind of after the fact, not just active monitoring. That's a lot of feeds to monitor all at one time, even for one person. So, if there was an incident, we could pull footage up to 30 days and go back and see, what happened. So, IT will be able to do it. Like I said, the parking deck staff will have access to it as well.
Thank you for your assistance with those answers.
No problem.
Questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Mayor.
And, Ms. Eubanks, one of the things that we talked, Jackie had a meeting with DFA in the last week or so, and one of the safety issues we were talking about was at the new deck, and how we could assist some individuals. Those cameras, as I understand, will be both monitored inside the deck and outside the deck. We talked about lighting in the areas like the alleys, those kind of things. Those are things that we're still working on. I want to start, if you would, since Ms. Simmons is not here, with EE and its resolution authorizing the proper city officials and employees to apply for our Reconnecting Communities Pilot Program grant for capital construction funds for the West College Street Bridge Project, and it's sponsored by Ms. Simmons. A few days ago, we had a meeting with Volker, Doug Siegel, who's with them, who is putting the plans together, so this will be shovel ready. Met with him and some folks from ALDOT and the state, and this is one of the things that he wanted to move forward on, and he's going to help us with making that application. Also, I'll soon be going to DC, working on a Reconnecting America grant that will also apply to that, so I'm really excited about NACOG having for that. But the EE is for the grant that Mr. Siegel is applying for.
Just an application?
Just application.
And is there any match, or do you know, is it 50-50, 80-20?
It's 50/50.
Is it 50-50?
It is. It expires September 30th, and we have a meeting later. This is just for the council to approve pursuing it.
Yep.
And then we have a meeting later this week about the match.
Right,
And
so
have that discussion.
I just want to know what our match is if we are approved for it.
Yeah.
So there's a financial obligation.
Right, that's why we have a meeting with Shana later in the week to discuss those things. And then it will come back around for the actual application
Yeah.
in 2 weeks.
I do know how grants work. Thank
So,
you.
there we go.
Process. We talked about several different grants too, by the way, in match, so we're in process there. Next is 11M, It's agreement with SD Professional Hygiene North America, the tissue plant. This should have been on the last agenda. Chief Anderton, he can explain if he needs to, but we had the opportunity, I think, after all that was over with, and I think, 300 and some odd firefighters helped put that fire out. They were asking for our assistance there for a day or so, and the other fire departments across North Alabama helped with that. So I signed that agreement, and I just need you to give this blessing. It should have been on the last agenda, but that went very well. I had no problems, is that correct? And the last, I think every one of you has received, we've had several conversations about our new parking deck, which we hope will open around September the 30th. And while we were at it, we also are looking at lot 59. In the past, the city also had two lots. One was lot 59 and one was lot 60. Lot 59 is across from the post office, has 82 spots. Lot 50 now belongs to the county. It's on the corner of College and Seminary. But while we were working at the parking deck, talked with several individuals, and they said we ought to do this at the same time. So what we're asking, and this went through the finance committee, is that we make the hourly rates just like on the street, 50 cents per hour with a $4 day maximum. That's 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. If you get in and you lose your slip, there's a $4 loss fee charge. And we're asking that the monthly renters be charged $25 per month. Okay. Also soon be getting some information to you. We're looking at the closing of the old deck as well and how we'll handle that. So down the road, we'll get you some more information about that.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Mayor.
You cover I. Never mind, that's not, doesn't have your name on it.
Good afternoon. One comment I want to follow up behind Mayor with concerning the Essity plant fire. In that incident, we had an emergency operations phase that basically, from the fire started on a Saturday morning, that Saturday, Sunday, through the night, Sunday night into early Monday morning. We were kind of in an emergency response phase. In this contract that he has, the incident transitioned into a support phase, and Essity plant contracted with us, Florence, City of Florence, City of Muscle Shoals, City of Tuscumbia, and City of Russellville Fire. The particular need they had, these four cities all had the equipment, and this contract consists of a FEMA reimbursement rate for the equipment, and they are covering salaries for the personnel, for our personnel that was there for those. We ultimately spent 24 hours there. We worked a shift on Tuesday and then again on Friday night, 12 hours each shift. I have 3 items today on the consent agenda. I'll start with item N. The first 2 of these will be contract proposals. I have one from IIA Lifting Services in the amount of $6,990.98. And basically what this is, we have an annual recertification of all of our ladder trucks, the actual ladders themselves, as well as our ground ladders and all that are fire service rated equipment. And there is an annual recertification of that equipment. And this contract is, it is budgeted funds coming out of account 256-42200. And that's what this proposal is to hire the individual that comes and performs the testing of all of our equipment. Any questions about that? The next one is item O. This again is a project we had that was within our budgeted funds this year for Fire Station 5. We've got
a contract from Jeff Gibbs doing business as Custom Solutions. He has given us a proposal in an amount of $5,200, and that's to install countertops, new sinks, shelving, and a bench at Fire Station 5. And that would be expense to account 117-1053-42200.
Is that in the restrooms or?
There's restrooms and kitchen area as well, yes. Any questions, any other questions about that? And the last item I have is item P. I spoke a little bit about this at the last, previous work session, and this is the final wrap-up of the invoicing. The project I spoke to you all about was a sewer line collapse that's next door to Fire Station 3. We had part of the invoicing complete that I presented to you all at the last meeting, and this is basically the remainder of that. We have an invoice from Barnett Plumbing in the amount of $10,500 for the emergency repair. They had to go under this part of the station, dig up Mitchell Boulevard, the street beside, and go all the way to the other side and replace that sewer line connection there, all the piping. And that, all of that work is now complete. This is the final portion of the invoicing from that we've been waiting on.
You said Mitchell Boulevard.
Not Mitchell Boulevard. No,
What avenue?
no, beside the station. I'm just drawing a blank.
Which one?
Fire Station 3.
Great North Florence, yeah. Off of,
Off of Wood
on the
Avenue.
corner of Wood Avenue.
Yeah, what is the name of
street?
that street? I'm drawing a blank.
It's,
Pine Street?
it's on Wood Avenue, it's in North Florence.
Yes, it's immediately beside the station. I'm sitting there drawing a blank on that street name.
Yeah.
goes
It
all
is
the way-
Mitchell Street. It is Mitchell Street. I said it right the first time. That's right.
Mitchell Boulevard.
Mitchell Street, I'm sorry. Mitchell
Goes
Street,
down
that's
to
correct.
Sheridan, goes to Sheridan.
That's correct, that's correct.
Well, street, I'm sure.
No, that's correct. Street, not boulevard. It's Monday on Tuesday. Any other questions about that?
Mr. Edwards, can I ask Chief a question? Could you update us on the, I know we had some drainage issues that you were gonna clear up. You were able to handle that training facility in the back.
Yes, we had some old storm, it really is stormwater runoff across the rear of the property behind the training center. There's about a little over an acre of property that's been growing up for several years, and we have cleared that off this year. We had the guys at the work, the firemen had went out there and did quite a bit of work. And there's about a third of that, little over an acre there, was practically unusable, stayed wet, soggy, that sort of thing. And we had a contractor that was doing some work next door that had a bunch of dirt that needed to be removed. He had well over 100 dump truck loads of dirt, and we worked out a gentleman's agreement. We purchased the pipe and replaced the section that was broken and continued across to match up with the natural water drainage, and he covered and backfilled all of that for us, helped us and helped him as well. So it was a good partnership with that, certainly. That land will certainly be usable again very soon. Pretty much is that away now. Anything else? Thank you.
Chief. Hold it, Mayor, Ms. Eubanks had some questions about the parking deck that she failed to ask. Did you address those real quick?
Yeah, Mayor, I want to understand clearly about how we are managing, because $25 may not seem like a lot of money to a lot of people, but it can be cost prohibitive for folks who work at restaurants and make minimum wage or less. How are we handling that with the business owners? And I know there've been some discussions with them, so I want to know how we're managing those folks who have a hard time covering that.
Let's just say that's an ongoing conversation that we're working on, so I don't have all the answers today. But I know we had several folks, and I'll try to expand on that in the next couple of weeks, if that's okay.
Well, I'm very concerned because that's about $1 a day. And for folks who work in restaurants and they live on tips, or for people who do work downtown and maybe they work somewhere and they make minimum wage or just above, that can be very expensive and it can cut in their cost of living. And I'm hopeful that we have some passes that the owners are getting that they can give to their employees. I want to make sure that we're not passing something that's going to be detrimental to those individuals, but then detrimental to the businesses too.
Absolutely, and I think we're certainly cognizant of that, and, you know, I've been meeting with a committee of folks, parking and others within the city to kind of pass that along, so we'll certainly keep that in mind, and I know the meeting that Jackie had, we talked a little bit about that, and I had a conversation with Mr. Anderson, and that's lot 59 that he parks in, so he had some ideas as well, but we just don't have those fleshed out yet.
Was the prior cost $12.50?
It was $12 at lot 59, and my understanding was $12 on 2 floors at the old deck, and then 10 beyond that.
So that means it's pretty much doubled.
Yeah,
A little bit.
but it was.
But the $10 cost goes back to 1978
It was never
in the
changed since
parking deck, so it's been
1978.
that for all this time, so.
And, you know, as we check with other municipalities, 25 is very low compared to others. And I understand what you're saying, and I'm very cognizant of that, and we want to do everything we can to minimize that. And I'll be glad to work with you any way we can get that handled.
Yeah, I think it's really, really critical. It's going to be difficult for folks who lived paycheck to paycheck, knowing that it's gonna go up that much. And, you know, something you gotta think about. It's not fair.
Absolutely. Do you have something else besides that?
I did not, no, sir. I just wanted to be very clear about what's been going on.
Think clear. Shana Bowles.
I have items Q and R on the agenda. Q is a resolution with Parker Technology to provide 24/7 after-hours or call support for the parking deck. So it'll run concurrent with the parking deck officials over there. Any questions on that?
Next.
Okay.
Identification.
Item R is a resolution to approve payment of invoice for the arbitrage group. We had to submit a rebate report in relation to the PBA bond. Those funds have to be spent by a certain amount of time. And we have currently a $1.4 million liability, I believe, that we have to make sure we have to pay back as soon as those funds are spent. So it's the by the 5th anniversary of the bond date, they have to be spent. Or we
Do
have to
you
pay
need a
back.
list? Okay.
So, yeah, we just have to do that report so we know how much money to put back, because we'll have to pay some of it back.
Shana, I did have a question about the calls. How many calls will the $437.75 cover per month?
Do you remember how many?
I think it's 150.
125, it's 125 service calls, and then any overage, and they'll kind of work with us, that if it looks like we may go over those calls, then they'll adjust the quote.
In the early stages of it, we might, so I just don't want us to get into, okay.
Anything else?
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. Ted Cole.
Afternoon, I have 4 items on the consent agenda. The first item is a quote or a contract with Shows Overhead Door in the amount of $29,779.24. This is for the installation of 2 new doors on the gas department truck shed, and this is to be paid from budget account 390.00. Any questions on that? Item 2 is a contract with R.W. Parker Equipment Company. This is for the repair of a ice machine at the gas department.
Did you already have doors, those 2 garage doors?
Yes, they were, one of them is in very bad disrepair.
Just worn out?
Yes, just old and worn out, correct, yes. Any questions on the ice machine repair?
Ice machines cost us a lot of money.
They're valuable this time of year, though. The third item is a contract regarding the demolition of the old Killen water tank. Milburn Southeast LLC was the low bidder at $139,000, but they do not possess an Alabama General Contractor's license, and so it's on the recommendation of Engineers of the South that we go with Robinson and Sons Construction, which was the next lowest bidder at $147,500 for the demolition of the Killen water tank.
When do you expect that to take place, Tad?
We would like to see it take place before the end of the year, just depending on how quick we can process this.
Yeah, I didn't know if that would involve any kind of organization and orchestration of the surrounding areas and all that stuff.
Yes, it's kind of out in the middle of a pasture, so it shouldn't be anything as far as.
People having to vacate areas or
Correct,
anything? Okay.
nothing related, there should be no problems with the school or anything like that, just because of where it's located.
Gotcha.
And what was the original low bid?
The original low bid was $139,000 even. And the second bid was $147,500.
I took a picture of the water tower across from Newbern's to remind me to ask you, does the city pay for the painting of those?
Yes, that is part of our maintenance plan that we put in effect back several years ago. We have those on the schedule, that they're updated. They're cleaned inside periodically and also inspected and repaired outside periodically.
How often do you dump the water in those?
That water, those tanks, actually the water turns over on about a 3 or 4 day basis. We try to limit the amount of water. This time of year we don't have any problems because of the demand, but we do occasionally run into some issues, in low demand season, wintertime. So we actually try to turn those over every 48 hours if possible. Replenish.
What does it cost to paint a tower that size?
I'd have to go back and look, Mr. Griffin.
Estimate.
It was a couple of $100,000.
It took them a while, and I did not want to be a part of that crew.
Yes.
I love the way they pull the shade up around it
Yes, pull the
every
curtain.
day, so the paint wouldn't get on the houses, and then they lowered it every night.
Yes.
That was time,
Yes.
it was time consuming, just the raising and lowering.
Now,
of that.
the one great thing about it is once they do one and all the brackets and the mounting brackets and hardware and everything is in place, the next time it's done, all they do is come in and mount the arms.
How many years?
That right now that's on about a 10-year schedule. Now, that's for the exterior. The interior is a little more often. We have to inspect it more often for seals, settles, that type of thing.
So if my name ended up there, it'd be 10 years before it come down.
Correct.
Not that I would do that. Vince Lindsay did that one time.
That's correct.
Yes.
Any questions? Any more questions on that? All right, the last one is regarding the Mitchell Boulevard Utility Relocation Project. The bid price for the project came in at $1,259,775.79, and that is with CJF Construction, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, CGF Construction. This amount, of course, exceeded the original agreement amount of $891,700, but we have an additional supplemental agreement in place to cover the overage. But AlDOT basically will still pay for 100% of the project. We're just awaiting the additional document, the additional agreement for the overage. And it will be brought, just as soon as I receive it, I'll get it on the next available agenda.
Okay, as long as AlDOT's on the
Yes.
hook.
Yes. And that is the understanding that AlDOT will pay 100% for the project. Any more questions on that? Thank y'all.
Thank you. Mary McDuffie.
Good afternoon. I have 3 items on the agenda. The first one is a contract with LineQuest. We put out to bid to have our utility services located, and this is the company that won the bid to locate our services. And so this is just an agreement with them to
perform that work for us. It's a 3-year agreement, that the prices stay the same for 3 years. And how does this help our utility users, Mary? Explain that. You talked to us at utility committee about it. Why is this service so important? So this is when you call 811 to have something located, this is this company that actually will go out on site and locate for us our facilities. So it's very important that we get someone that we can trust to do it. And this is actually a new company, but we've heard good things about them, so we're going to try it and see how it goes.
I couldn't operate without them.
That's correct. I agree. The next is a contract with EA Nelson Company. We purchase our air compressors for our garage from EA Nelson, and this is an agreement to do maintenance on it yearly. And you can see the prices. The total for the year maintenance is $59.44. They do quarterly maintenance, some quarterly maintenance and some yearly maintenance. So this is just for maintenance.
That'll cover our yearly costs.
Yes.
Up to that point, and unless there's anything needed.
Correct. And then the last item I have is a change order. We did a contract with Garnet Electric in the amount of $109,750 to do the relocation of the alleyway project for the parking deck tear down. And after the work began, they discovered that there was one building that didn't meet the NEC code. And so they have come back and given us a price of $12,300 to bring that location up to code. So I'm requesting a change order in the amount of $12,300.
Motion.
Second.
Any other motion? Griffin, second. Discussion? All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And also on the agenda, President appoint President McCrory, Education, Cheryl Langston, Tree Commission, Pamela K. Roden Jones to the show Scope 310, Ben Maharry, this show Scope 310. And that's it. Well, we'll take about a 5-minute break and come back and start our council meeting.